What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for a Rampage and SmackDown review for October the 1st, 2021. Tonight was the first night of the draft. Who cares? Because we got Nick Jackson versus Bryan Danielson on Rampage. Now, as we do every week, we'll talk about Rampage first because we just got done seeing it. And it was abundantly clear, and it's been clear every time they've done a taped version of this show. I can't see Rampage being taped for very long. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, when SmackDown was taped, it was taped on a day by itself. It wasn't taped before Raw or after Raw when everybody's done watching Raw and they want to go home. No, it was taped on its own day. If you're going to tape Rampage, you got to start taking the show, giving it its own day, taping, like having the show taped at 9 on Friday. Have Dark taped at 8, and then Dark Elevation taped at 10, all on the night of Rampage. Because the crowd hired, the crowd just had a hell of a show dedicated to Brody Lee and everything, along with giving us Bryan Danielson versus Nick Jackson. That match, the crowd wasn't tired before that match, they were tired after, but you could just tell from the, we're going to be at the James L. Knight Center, if I'm correct, at the end of this month with Rampage being live. Just look at the difference between the week before Rampage, where it's going to be taped, and the live one, and you could just tell how the crowd is going to be different and how much the crowd is going to pretty much, like, it's something that they got to do something better. Because Rampage live would be, like, better or something else. They can't keep doing it like this because it just takes away from the quality of the show. It doesn't feel, it kills the vibe. It really does. Nick Jackson, Bryan Danielson should have been saved for next week, even though they know they're doing the 8-man tag match. But this crowd, They were dead for majority of the match. I mean, you're gonna get your head fucking kicked in by the crowd, which is surprising. But they weren't as lively or excited for this match as they should have been. So, those are my thoughts on that. So as you know, they started off with Rampage with Nick Jackson versus Bryan Danielson. Also, tonight we find out the 6 normal participants in the casino ladder match. I don't know why there's 6 when there should only be 4 suits. If you're going to do 2 per suit, there should be 8. I don't know why we're getting 6. I don't understand where that logic comes in. And we're going to and the joke, of course, will be on Wednesday as the last person, as they say, if the match gets that far, which of course the match is going to get that far because we had a casino ladder match at Double or Nothing last year. Brian Cage, of course, made his debut, won the whole damn thing, and went on to wrestle Jon Moxley, and of course lose to Jon Moxley. But anyway, Nick Jackson, Bryan Danielson. Heard this was a banger of a match, and it did not disappoint. Again, this is a dream match. People can talk about, when you talk about Marty Jannetty and who's the Marty and the Shawn Michaels of the respective tag teams, this might anger some people, but Nick Jackson is the Shawn Michaels to Matt being the Marty, if you wanted to give them that kind of comparison. Nick just, I don't know what it is, it's just Nick feels more like if Matt had to retire or something and Nick was going on his own, he would do well by himself. He could go on and have a singles run if AEW deemed it something to do. Whereas Matt, it just feels like he wouldn't be as high as his brother. Now, early on in the match, Danielson takes control. Before, of course, when the match starts, Nick and them, they're just circling around the ring, sizing each other up, trying to get a feel of everything. And you could just tell at the beginning of this match, if you switch the 2 opening matches on Wednesday night and tonight, and had Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy here and Bryan Danielson and Nick Jackson on Wednesday night, you would have had the same crowd reaction for both matches the way they are. This match feels like it should have been done on live TV and not taped 2 hours after the show went off 2 hours after a hell of a show, and a few minutes after an emotional win by Sammy Guevara, and apparently had some words in front of the crowd before they started taping Rampage. They did show that in a video package. I'm sure we'll see it on Sammy's blog on Friday, on next week. The full words that he had to say. But the crowd, you could just tell the crowd, they went into the match, it was just they weren't as lively as I hoped they would have been. Jackson subbed Danielson off and turns around the side headlock. Jackson hits the ropes and there's a shoulder tackle. Jackson is basking in his success. He heads to the outside and sprays himself. Danielson, which he like Brandon Cutler gives him a bottle. He sprays his armpit, sprays the other one, and then sprays down his nether region. He pulls his pants forward a little bit to be able to spray down, and he just starts jumping up next because it's so fucking cold. So Danielson takes this opportunity to do a Lupe Suicida to the outside, taking him out. Danielson soars for a shotgun missile dropkick. He puts Jackson in a brutal surfboard stretch, then transitions into the Dragon Sleeper. Can't be in that for very long because Nick then takes his hand and rubs and scratches at Danielson's face to be able to get him off of him. Jackson turns this thing around with a big leg. Danielson catches Jackson and he comes off with a springboard maneuver and applies an armbar. He smashes Jackson's chest before dropping with the suplex. He looks for a covering kick out by Nick. Danielson starts working on Jackson's shoulder, looking to hyperextend it. Jackson backs them up in the corner. Danielson rocks Jackson with a shoot kick and chops combination. Jackson sends Bryan to the other side of the well. Scouted arm drag. Danielson topples to the outside. Outside, Matt hits him with the spear as Nick distracts the referee. And then we go to picture-in-picture where Nick Jackson controls the entirety of that time. Fake foot chokehold and a couple other things trying to slow Bryan Danielson down. We come back and Nick slams Bryan in Facebook with a bulldog. Then he mocks Bryan with a couple repeated of some yes kicks, which they don't call them yes kicks because that's a WWE thing. Danielson eggs him on and spits in a big Lugia to show his appreciation, which he's kicking Danielson, and Danielson is like not selling. He's selling them, but as he continues to kick him, it starts hyping him up and hulking him up in quotations. Danielson connects 2 running kicks but gets suplexed. Super kick on the 3rd attempt. Jackson hooks the leg. Bryan Danielson kicks out. Jackson flies off the top with a 450 only to get temporarily trapped into the bell lock. Of course, he's too close to the rope, so he gets his foot on the rope. Danielson rebounds with more round kicks. Jackson evades halfway through. Danielson slams his shin straight into the ring post as they were on the outside. Of course, Jackson was trying to, please, man, no more. Just no more. I've had enough. He's, just waving his arms no more, man, no more. Of course, Bryan goes and kicks him a couple more times and then goes for that big, huge roundhouse kick that he usually hits. And, of course, Nick moves, shin to the ring post. Jackson crashes down on Danielson with an Escalera back in the ring. Jackson ties Danielson up with a sharpshooter. Luckily, Danielson grabs the rope in time before adding more damage to his legs. Jackson accidentally kicks Cutler in the face, which, oh God, Brandon Cutler. Brandon Cutler was a face mask right now because earlier this year he crushed his orbital bone in a match, and I think it was his actual last match before he started being the young boy of the Young Bucks and started doing the whole goofy shit he's doing with them. So he's standing out there, he's saying something to Bryan, and it's to distract Bryan, but Bryan moves out of the way and takes a full force kick from Nick Jackson to the face, and I'm sitting there oh shit, he's lucky he's got that face mask on because he probably would have broke his nose or broke his orbital bone again. Danielson pops into the bridge Tiger suplex. Jackson fights only to get put into the cattle mutilator. Without a hesitation, Jackson tags out and scores a major win against Nick Jackson. Hell of a match, hell of an opener. Post-match, Omega, Adam Cole, and the rest of the Elite come out to check on Nick Jackson. Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy follow them out immediately after to prevent the attack on Bryan. Both groups brawl, the face clears in the ring. Jungle Boy locks Cole in the snare trap while the heels are on the outside. Danielson encourages Omega to get into the ring. He does get into the ring and mentioned immediately. And it gets immediately put in the labella lock. Both men look at each other, Cole and Omega. They both tap out. It was a little... they're supposed to tap out at the same time, but Cole started tapping before Omega did. So, that was that. And we didn't get a close-up shot. It was actually from the top-down camera, which took away. Would have been such an awesome more spot if you would have had them both trapped, and we would have had that close-up of these guys being put in these submission holds and then both tapping at the same time. Of course, we had that huge 8-man tag team match on Wednesday night, so this is just them getting ready for that. Powerhouse House and Hook says Ricky Starks has a special message from Brian Cage. Starks sends they send us a vignette describing how he won't back down in his fight against Cage, and he's not. Just because Cage is bigger doesn't mean he can beat everyone's ass, and that is that. We have a video package for CM Punk, who is 5 pool players and surviving AEW, who has been untouchable. He wants to be the best in this company can give him. He says he would rather choke on facing the biggest company, the bigger guys that stabilize himself on mediocrity. He wants to be the absolute best. So he wants to take on the best. Triple threat match, Jade Cargill versus Nyla Rose versus Thunder Rosa. This match is happening because on the road to All Out, Cargill and Nyla Rose teamed up to take out Julia Hart out of the Battle Royal completely so they can have Sky Blue come in. And then they had beat up Thunder Rosa as well. And of course at the Battle Royal, these two, they were working together for a bit until Nyla Rose turned on Jade Cargill and had her thrown out. So that's why this match is coming for. This match fucking sucked. You have Thunder Rosa, who could be a ring general, can go out there and do damn near anything in a match with women who are right below her or on her level. Throwing Jade Cargill in there, who absolutely they're giving they strap the rocket to, even though she's not even close to being ready. There is no reason Jade Cargill should be in the position she's in, other than they're trying to strap the rocket to her. And the rankings came out today because they put the rankings back on Friday for whatever reason, and she was number 2. Thunder Rosa was number 1. Who do you think was going to win this match? Clearly, Jade Cargill is the next in line for a title match against the women's champion. So, this match was terrible. The only good thing about this match was during the commercial break, we came back, and Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose apparently set up a table on the outside. And you know, wrestling law in 21st century or 2021, if you put it up, you usually go through it. So, Thunder Rosa slammed or powerbombed Nyla Rose on the outside through the table. Now, she falls down and it looks like she's going to pin her, but this isn't a Falls Count Anywhere match. So she's laying on Nyla Rose thinking she's getting a pinfall, even raises her hand thinking she won, realizing, oh shit, that's not how this works. So she tries to pull her back in. Jade Cargill comes over, gets a chair, hits her a couple times with the chair, beats the hell out of her some more with the chair, and then pins Thunder Rosa for the 1, 2, 3. Thus, of course, becoming the number 1 contender. And that match is going to be a fucking train wreck. You thought Nyla Rose and the women's champion was a bad match. It was. This is going to be fucking worse. Jade Cargill has not even been wrestling for a year. She is just like, she's hot. Like, she had her match with her and Shaq versus Red Velvet and Cody earlier this year. And that was her first fucking match ever, apparently. And now they have her getting into the number 1 ranking for the women's championship when you have one of the worst women's champions in wrestling in AEW history as your champion. This is a recipe for a fucking disaster. The women's champion's first title defense was against Nyla Rose, and that match fucking sucked. This match is going to do no better. But that's what they want to do. They want to... Now, the talk about, I think it was the Matman podcast, Andrew Zarian, the Matman podcast, broke that they're going to be introducing a TBS championship for the women's division probably at the end in December, we're going to have a tournament, and the finals are going to be on the first episode of AEW on TBS. So, whoever wins that championship, whether it be Thunder Rosa, Chris Statlander, Anna Jay, or anybody, right now, the way things are going, they are going to be a much more prestigious champion than the women's championship that we have right now. The women's championship might as well just be abolished. Because you have the worst champion in the fucking company's history holding that title, sucking every time she's in a fucking match, being carried from start to fucking finish, can't even cut a good fucking promo without saying the same old tired bullshit week in and week out, can't win a fucking match on her goddamn own, can't do any fucking moves without botching every fucking thing, and now you have Jade fucking Cargill, who hasn't even been in the wrestling business for a fucking year, gonna be challenging her for the women's championship. What a recipe for fucking disaster. Tony, Omega, whoever's running the women's division, you should stop running the women's division. Have somebody who has sense in the fucking brain to tell you that, hey, this is a bad fucking idea, to go out there and make this women's champion, this women's division, actually better. Ruby Soho coming in was a much needed jolt to the women's division. Ruby, Thunder Rosa, Hikaru Shida, Riho, Serena Deeb are the top 5 women in this division. These are the 5 women who should be fighting right now to be the women's champion. Not the Faker, not Jade Cargill, none of them. Chris Statlander has still got ways to go. Anna Jay still has ways to go. Red Velvet's going to be there eventually as well. Gets the women's championship on somebody who actually could carry that women's division and make that women's division mean something. Until then, the women's division is going to be a fucking joke. And the fact that you had Jade Cargill beat Layla Hirsch a couple weeks ago, which, by the way, Layla Hirsch would be number 6 on the top people in this company for the women's division. And now you have her win a triple threat match, conveniently at number 2 in the rankings, even though who the fuck has she beat up until now? Oh, that's right, she beat Layla Hirsch and that was it. Nobody else. Yeah, this is a fucking joke, and the women's division is a fucking joke. Until we actually get women in this division that are actually fucking good, vying for that women's championship, there's no way this division is going to be any good. It's just so stupid. I don't know who actually runs the women's division, but they should be fucking fired from that position. They should be removed from that position because they are doing a very poor job. I mean, if you look at the rankings for this week, Thunder Rosa number 1, Jade Cargill number 2, Hikaru Shida number 3, Tay Conti number 4, Chris Statlander number 5. Shida, not going to have her go up there right now because that's what they want to do. They want to distance her away from the women's division. She's going for win number 50 this week against Serena Deeb, which I understand why she's not in the top 5 because she hasn't been wrestling because of injury. But Tay Conti, yeah, she's up there, but she's not up there, if you know what I mean. Chris Statlander still got a little bit ways to go before I could see her being a women's champion. I'd say between now and 2023, Chris Statlander could possibly be the women's champion if the women's division actually gets back up to where it needs to be. But that's not going to happen until you have somebody like a Thunder Rosa, Hikaru Shida, or somebody else confident enough to hold that title with dignity actually has that women's championship, because until then that women's title means absolutely fucking nothing. It is as valuable as the women's tag team titles or the women's titles in WWE. That's how much value the women's championship has right now. Anyway, we have a video package from Malachi Black, who enjoys the torture he put on the Nightmare Family through, and his reign of terror in AEW is far from over. We get a look back at the triumphant victory of Sammy Guevara last week, and the new team champion looks forward to having to go around with Bobby Fish this coming Wednesday. Bobby Fish honestly feels very random to be the first challenger, but hey, it is what it is. We have a casino ladder match coming up on Wednesday night. We didn't know anybody going into the night show. Now, after everything we just went through, so far we know Moxley, Pac, Lance Archer, and Andrade El Idolo are your 4 of your first 6. Why they're doing 6, I couldn't tell you. Anyway. But Jon Moxley, Pac, Lance Archer, and Andrade El Idolo with 2 more to come later on. Of course, the Joker will be later. We get the split screen for the hair versus hair match. Mark Henry speaks to Orange Cassidy and Jack Evans. Matt, who will be in Evans' corner tonight, promises Cassidy will come out of the bout with no hair. Cassidy is like, wait a minute. What am I doing? What's this match? I have no idea what I'm doing. Henry reminds him that it's a hair versus hair, Orange. You lose this match, you're going to have your head shaved. And Orange is like, oh, okay, well, I guess I shouldn't lose. Hair versus hair, Orange Cassidy versus Jack Evans. This was a meh match. Like, I know this is the problem I'm also having with Rampage. You get the first match is a banger of a match. With like every starting thing that we've had has been a highlight for the show. After that, the shows fall off. Every single episode so far of Rampage, it's like the first 25 minutes is some good television. And after that, it's like, we'll just throw anybody out there randomly. Don't even care. Jack Evans, Orange Cassidy, why did this match even need to happen? This HFO stuff needs to stop. Orange Cassidy, how many times does Orange Cassidy or the Best Friends have to beat the HFO before Matt Hardy and his group gets over it? You've been losers over and over and over again. I do not want to see the Hardy Family Office versus Orange Cassidy or the Best Friends after tonight. I am done with it. I do not want to see it anymore. Jack Evans loses, of course he does, because that's what you need to do. Now, Matt Hardy wanted some insurance, so he tried to get his boys to come down to help Jack Evans win. Well, out of the crowd comes Chris Statlander, Wheeler Yuta, and Chuck Taylor. So, Matt Hardy's like, oh, well, it was just him and the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny, so okay, that's going to be even up. He brings out everybody else from the Hardy Family Office. Just as that's happening, the Dark Order shows up. They come out, they make a wall even more to stop that, and Orange Cassidy hits the orange punch. 1, 2, 3. He gets the win. Jack Evans has to have his head shaved. Yuta and Taylor are dressed as Barb in black Barbie uniforms. Cassidy is the first with the scissors, cuts off the ponytail. Everyone's having a huge blast. In the end, the Dark Order, Orange Cassidy, Yuta, Statlander, and Chuck Taylor, after they kick him out after they shave his head enough, have -1 stand in the middle. He's wearing a fake mustache. They all do the come in for the big hug. Give the people what they want, big hug. And the show ends with everybody celebrating with Orange Cassidy having -1 on his shoulders while -1 puts the sunglasses on his face. Yeah. I'm just going to say this now. It's like, Rampage is not a great show overall. It hasn't been. There's not been one episode of Rampage where it's like, top to bottom, that's a damn good show. It's always like, Episode 2 was CM Punk. Episode 2 was CM Punk, and everything else after that just felt like meh. Episode 1, we had 3 title matches? No, the Fuego match. Was the Miro and Fuego match on the first episode of Rampage, or was that the second? Either way, we had the Impact World title change hands the first night of Rampage. That was a big moment. That was awesome. It was a live show, by the fucking way. And yeah, it was a good moment, and it was good. But here we are, and it just, it's meh. Everything after the first match, every single time. Hell, we had a 2-hour Rampage last week, which was a big fucking mistake. Unless you're going to do Rampage live on this, do not ever do a tape show, a 2-hour tape show after your main show. Just don't do it. Like, again, as I said when I started this, I don't see Rampage being taped for long. It just kills the vibe every single week. But in the end, it is an episode of Rampage in the books. It was, after the first match, it was okay. Everything else just didn't need to happen. If you just wanted to get Bryan Danielson and Nick Jackson a half an hour of the show, and then just have whatever you wanted in the second half of the hour, I would have been fine with that. But that is Rampage. Let's move on to SmackDown as we have the draft. The draft. They did things a little bit different this year with the draft because 2016, 2017, not 2017. We didn't have a draft in 2017. Like 2016, 2019, 2020, the draft went like this. Raw gets 3 picks. SmackDown gets 2 picks because that's how the show went. Raw's 3 hours, SmackDown's 2 hours. That's why they did the picks that way. So that's how it would go. Raw, SmackDown, Raw. Every single time. This year, they changed it up. SmackDown and Raw both get 2 picks each. And SmackDown actually picked first. I'm sure when we go to Monday Night Raw, it will be reversed. So, round 1, which is what started the show, Roman Reigns stays on SmackDown. Big E stays on Raw. Notice how they only said Big E. The Raw Women's Champion goes to SmackDown, and obviously Becky Lynch on Monday will be drafted to Raw. Now, if you remember last year's draft, the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, were drafted to Raw of SmackDown, when they were the Raw Tag Team Champions. I'm sorry, they were the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, weren't they? No, they were drafted to Raw. Yeah, they were drafted to Raw as the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. While the Street Profits were drafted to SmackDown as the Raw Tag Team Champions. When the draft was over, what did they do? They had in a backstage segment, the champions exchange titles, officially ending 2 title reigns by handoff. Here we go again. Show about 9,000 when this whole draft is over, which, by the way, this draft doesn't, the draft rosters do not take effect till the night after Crown Jewel. So why not just have the draft the Friday after Crown Jewel and the Monday after Crown Jewel? How hard is that? But Becky's going to go to Raw. Then they're going to exchange title belts. And then that means Charlotte is going to be a 13-time or 14, whatever the number she's up to time, women's champion without even having to wrestle a match or lose her championship. So there you go. And Bianca Belair goes to Raw. Street Profits, of course, will probably be drafted on Monday. So Roman comes out right after this. He says, it's just like it says on the back, we're the ones because I'm number 1. Tells Baltimore to acknowledge him. They are loud for Roman. Baltimore loves themselves some Roman Reigns, and I'm sitting here going, there's a rumor going around and talk that when the crowds came back, Vince McMahon wanted to turn Roman Reigns babyface immediately. And I'm like, no. That would be stupid. That would kill everything that Roman has done in the last year plus. And then I hear tonight's crowd, and I'm like, this could be Vince McMahon going, see, they love him. I have to turn him face. He's got to be the face. He doesn't have to be an actual baby face to be the face of the company. Good fucking grief. But Heyman says that wasn't good enough, but I wouldn't. It doesn't surprise me from these Baltimoreans, which of course Roman got a laugh about. He brags about how the demon is no longer undefeated. He ran into the exorcist known as Roman Reigns. He says, like a shark that swims around the island of relevancy, this shark only swims forward, and this shark looks forward to its crown jewel, which will not be held in Suplex City because, ladies and gentlemen, Heyman assures that the beast will come up against the Suplexicist. Yes, Suplexicist is something that was said tonight. Roman Reigns, he says Reigns will remain a Universal Champion and will smash Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel. Out comes Brock Lesnar. He gets in the ring. We have a stare down. Roman attacks him, beats him up for a minute, but Brock Lesnar finally gets back and hits 2 Germans on him. He bails. Here come the Usos. I think it was Jimmy. Hold on here. He got a German suplex, and I believe it was Jimmy. He got him with one, took out Jay. Tells Roman, get in here, get in here. Roman looks like he's going to get in, then drops down and leaves like the chicken shit heel he is. So, 2 F5s, both to each Uso, and that was that. So, good. Okay, so we go backstage and we see Kayla Braxton getting ready to interview the Raw Women's Champion. I'm like, what the fuck is Charlotte wearing? That has to be the ugliest, whatever that attire she was wearing. Holy fuck, don't ever do that again. That was disgusting. Now we go back to break, we come back, and Charlotte, who was drafted to SmackDown tonight, and Braxton asked, how will her strategy change going to the red brand, from the red to the new brand? She wants Braxton to congratulate her, and she does. She goes on how, of course, Fox drafted the most decorated woman in sports entertainment history. It says, long live the queen, does a woo as she walks off. Again, she's going to win. They're going to do the title exchange. And yes, I know we have Crown Jewel coming up. It was announced that there will be the King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown tournament, which they can't just call it Queen of the Ring. Is Queen of the Ring copyrighted by somebody else? Just call it that. But it's the Queen Crown and the King of the Ring starting next Wednesday, or next Thursday, next Friday. With the finals, of course, happening at Crown Jewel. And if you don't think Charlotte 9000 is going to not be in that finals, you haven't been paying attention. So, also announced was Becky Lynch will defend her title at Crown Jewel in a triple threat match between her, Bianca Belair, and Sasha Banks. Now, they could get the title back to Bianca Belair, only for her to do the title exchange with Becky, with Charlotte 9000 on Friday, or after Crown Jewel, but I don't see that happening. So, we'll see what happens when it comes to the women's championships, but we had this precedent set last year with the with the tag team titles being drafted to opposite brands, and then they get drafted, they get exchanged, and Charlotte will go from a 13-time or whatever she is to a 14-time or whatever she would be after that. And it's just a cheap way for WWE to give her a new title reign. Kevin Owens versus Happy Corbin. Of course, last week, Happy got himself a new partner with Riddick Moss, who is now Mad Cat Moss. Long story short, don't even care about this match. Please tell me, Kevin Owens has been drafted every single time, if I'm correct. Since the draft stuff happened, since 2016, every superstar shakeup, every draft since 2019, Kevin Owens has been on the move, if I'm correct. If not, it's been almost every time. Who's to say they're not going to do it again? Well, you'll have to wait and see. Because apparently Kevin Owens will be either in the draft pool next week on Raw or not. Owens turns back around the end of the day. It's on him. Floor is laughing as Corbin rolls out. Owens back in. Corbin grabs Owens in another end of the day in the middle of the ring, cover, pin, and win. Bianca Belair versus SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch in Extreme Rules. We see how that happened with Sasha Banks making a return. Banks versus Belair in the main event. Time for the second round of the WWE Draft, and it went as follows. Drew McIntyre going to SmackDown. This one kind of was predictable, even though what was the point of having Drew show up on Monday after the WWE Championship match to point the sword at Big E like, hey fella, I'm next. Okay, Thursday is on SmackDown on Monday Night Raw. The New Day, Xavier Woods, and Kofi Kingston are going to SmackDown. Yes, you heard that right. The New Day was broken up again. You just put the New Day back together 2 or 3 weeks ago when Big E won the WWE Championship, and now you're breaking them up again. Why? And then Edge goes to Raw. Nothing left to do but have one final match with Seth Rollins, and since these rosters do not go into effect until the night after Crown Jewel, Edge versus Seth Rollins will probably happen at Crown Jewel. And of course, speaking of Edge, here he comes. Now, a couple weeks ago when they had their second match, Edge took a stomp and WWE tried to play it up as this devastating move to him, did the stretcher job, and apparently from every fucking third seat and source and everything, he was supposed to be gone for months. They were going to that was to write Edge off so Edge could come back at the Royal Rumble or whenever. Well, apparently that's not the case because here he is in the middle of the ring. He thanks Baltimore for the big pop. He says he realized he was only a superstar who was around for the first days of SmackDown. So he always felt like SmackDown was his home. Going to Raw is okay because it's a new challenge. And he brings up Rollins. He brings up how Rollins recently challenged him knowing he's not 100% or cleared yet. Rollins knows he'll have the advantage in a match, but Rollins also knows the kind of man Edge is and knows he'd show up and answer the challenge. Edge says he's on the way to 100%, and he calls him to the ring. Rollins appears on the screen. He talks about it. Edge isn't saying he wanted to hear, but how Rollins is better and isn't Edge light, or how Edge is retiring. He says, you know what? I don't tend to believe what comes out of your mouth, so... unlike you, I'm a truth sayer. I'm a man of my word. So you might be there, but I'm actually. Camera pans out. We see a beautiful looking sign that says Copeland on it, and Seth Rollins is at the house Copeland house. So Edge runs to the back. Then we go to Seth Rollins, who fiddles with the door. The door opens. Why is the door open? Why is the door unlocked? And he's like, dude, I know you live out in the middle of nowhere, but you should lock your doors, man. What the hell's wrong with you? So he has a nice little, walk through the house, goes to the fridge, gets some OJ, gets apple, has a couple bites of apple, drinks some OJ, has to look like an asshole. It's like, gee, what is that line from CinemaSins? Let's just have you eat an apple so you can just show how much of an asshole how much you really are an asshole. Something like that. And he helps himself to some stuff. He gets to a lounge room, sits down on this beautiful looking chair, the massage chair, starts using it, and he is just having a good old time. The sad part is we probably won't get a follow-up to this because this obviously was Edge not there. Wife and kids went home. Apparently, Beth was out doing some shopping or whatever. Edge is calling her on the phone. He's finding out where she's at, and she tells her not to go home. Go to your brother's house because Seth Rollins is there, and I don't want anything happening to you and the kids. So just go to your brother's house and call me when you get there. Daniel and David, I don't know who they are, going to the home to deal with Seth. Edge tells Beth he loves her and hangs up. He paces around as McAfee suggests to call the police, which they're out in the middle of nowhere. You think you're going to be able to call the police and get to your house? Pat McAfee's never really dealt with living out in the middle of nowhere. You call the police, it takes at least a couple days for them to get there, and by that time Seth would be gone. Liv Morgan versus Carmella. This was supposed to be a match. Liv Morgan smacks Carmella to start, sending her to the outside. She takes the mic, and Carmella says, "You bitch!" Oh, she said the B word. Isn't that tough? Says, "That's the last chance you're going to have to break my beautiful face." Says, ladies. So she turns her back to the camera. Two ladies come up in front of her, and they fasten something on her. She turns around, and it's a sparkling mask to protect her face. Fans, of course, chant, "You look stupid." She goes to the ring, goes to work on Liv. She drops Liv standing over her, showing off her standing tall. Removes the mask, is all smiles, and the match never officially began. Waste of fucking time. On to round 3. Okay, round 3. Corbin and Moss stay on SmackDown. Ripley and Trent and Nikki stay on Raw. Then, one of the most mind-boggling moves in the draft so far, and probably going to be ever. Hit Row, Top Dollar, Shanti Adonis, B-Fab, and Isaiah Swerve Scott are brought up from NXT to SmackDown. Isaiah Scott absolutely could be brought up. Nobody else on this fucking team or in this group can fucking wrestle. B-Fab was in a no disqualification match on NXT this week, and it was atrocious. And yet you're bringing every one of Hit Row up. If you wanted to bring Isaiah Scott up, I'd be like, oh, that's fine. He definitely deserves to come up. He's going to be... But this is what it is. Hit Row was a Triple H creation. Vince McMahon wants every fucking thing that Triple H created on his own out of NXT as soon as possible. Hit Row comes up to the main roster. They get buried 6 feet under, and we never see them do anything. Hit Row, more like Shit Row. Keith Lee stays on Monday Night Raw. Outside of the Hit Row thing, just more par for the course. New Day and Street Profits versus Rudolph, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode, Otis, and Chad Gable of the Alpha Academy. Big 8-man tag match. What do you want to say? It's an 8-man tag match. New Day and Street Profits get to pick up the win. Probably be the last match that the Street Profits have on SmackDown, as they will probably be drafted on Monday Night Raw to Raw. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair backstage warming up for the match. We get a Boys and Girls Club America video with Xavier Woods talking about how it helped him as a kid to be able to be more confident and comfortable in who he is, gamer, and all that, and professional wrestler. They talk about supporting Bullying Prevention Month, and I'm thinking to myself, tonight's October 1st. WWE, I know this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Is WWE and the Susan G. Komen Foundation not working together anymore? Because there was no mention one time tonight that they're celebrating Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It looks like WWE's time shoving Breast Cancer Awareness Month down your throat with the scam known as the Susan G. Komen Foundation is over. Final draft picks for tonight. SmackDown keeps Naomi, which, of course, Sonya Deville is not happy, and she's visibly sick to her stomach as they come back from showing the graphic of Naomi. Rey and Dominic Mysterio go to Monday Night Raw after being drafted to SmackDown last year. Jeff Hardy goes to SmackDown. He could be if they give him time, could be a possible victim for Roman Reigns in the Universal title picture. Austin Theory from NXT. NXT is in play for WWE for Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown got Shit Row, Austin Theory for Monday Night Raw. Out of everybody you could pick from NXT, you pick the group Hit Row, who's not even close to being ready for any type of national television, and Austin Theory. Why? I could see them bringing up maybe a Pete Dunne, Tommaso Ciampa if they wanted to, Johnny Gargano. But Austin Theory and Hit Row, these guys, men and women, are going to do absolutely fucking nothing. It's just a way to get them out of NXT because they don't fit Vince McMahon's version of NXT, which is a fucking dumpster fire as it is. And there you go. So, okay. Jeff Hardy's excited being on SmackDown, but Brock Lesnar walks up and he's like, you know what? I'm cool. I'm out of here. Lesnar says hi to Kayla, asks if we're live. He takes the mic and says, I have a public announcement to make. Thanks to his good friend Paul Heyman, good friend in sarcasm, says he is now a free agent all because of Heyman, and due to that, I can do what I want. Drops the mic, and that's that. We see the Bloodline sitting in Roman's room, and when Heyman asks if he really is good friends with Brock Lesnar, he asks if he and Heyman are good friends, and Heyman says, well, I'm your tribal chief. You're my tribal chief. He says, if we are friends, then you look out for me and my family. Why weren't my cousins drafted tonight on SmackDown? Because your cousins were part of the Raw pool. But he says it could happen on Raw. Calling in a strategy, he says, I'm a wise man. And Heyman's like laughing, he's like, looking at the Usos like, he says he's a wise man. You're the wise man when I say you're the wise man. To Heyman. Heyman pleads like, don't do this, man. Let's follow the strategy. Stick to the plan. Wants Heyman to go to Raw on Monday and make sure it's SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Usos are drafted to SmackDown. Do you understand? Heyman says, yeah, and heads out. Roman looks over at the Usos and says, I want you to go to Raw with Heyman and make it very clear that to be the drafted to SmackDown. If they're not, leave Heyman for dead on Raw. Tension in the Heyman, advocating for the bloodline. SmackDown main event was Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. This match was a rematch from WrestleMania, and they had to have Becky Lynch on commentary. And Becky Lynch, of course, is trying to force this heel run. How long is it going to be for them to realize it didn't work? It didn't work. For fuck's sake. She comes out to the biggest pop for them. The biggest pops. Why are you going to sit there and have this woman force a heel turn when it's not going to fucking work? It hasn't worked, and it's just obvious that they're just pushing and it's not working. Come on, guys. So they had the match. It's not even close, which it wasn't close going to be any close. And Becky Lynch being on commentary did not help. Honestly, I'm getting sick and tired of the, well, this person, I'm in a feud with this person. Let me be on commentary. This was a WrestleMania rematch. Becky could have been out there just watching, not saying anything, just watching, mean mugging with the face of I'm disgusted with both of these two women. I don't want to have to deal with either one of these, and just watch the match. Have McAfee and Cole mention her being there, and just have the match be as good as it can be. But of course, it was not going to be as good as the WrestleMania match. Sasha Banks wins because towards the end of the match, Belair goes out, but Becky casually, Belair ends up on the outside. She starts talking trash to Becky Lynch. She gets Sasha Banks back in. She yells at Becky some more. Goes over to get into the ring. Becky comes over, just grabs her hair, allowing Banks to roll her up 1, 2, 3, and Belair. Then Banks wins the match. After the match, Sherbot comes in, takes out both Belair and Banks, stands tall, hits some fans some boos. She holds up her title while Lynch raises her title, and the Extreme Rules edition, the post-Extreme Rules edition of SmackDown goes off the air with both the women's champions standing tall and holding up their titles, as both championships right now reside on SmackDown. But as I said before, this is the the tag team championships from last year all over again. Showbout 9000 is going to be she's going to get another. She's going to get another championship banner, another championship for her collection, because that's what they like to do. So she will be a 13-time women's champion when this is all said and done. They did it last year. They're going to do it again. And the only two titles they can do this with are the tag team titles and the the tag team titles and the women's titles, because the other ones can move freely whenever they want. But yeah, that is your Rampage and SmackDown review. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like what it's like this video, find me on Minds of the France Club, find me on twitch.tv/the and find me on Instagram at the France Club, and I will see you guys on Monday for Raw. Until then, my name is France, and I'll see you guys later.